let's talk about Madness Sork. So damage over time in this class. So uh, really need you to read everything to fully understand what's going on with all the little subtle nuances. But I'm going to direct your attention to a few uh, items here. Let's start with level 23. This thing called Death Mark. Death Mark is amazing. It causes all of your periodics, or your dots, to do more damage. So that's very important. It looks like this. Let's see what it looks like. Right there, we'll put a Death Brand on the target, and there it is, Death Mark. So I'm going to throw some lighting on it so it shows. So 15% more per dot. Each dot will do more, so that's a good thing. All right. I want to direct your attention also to something else that affects your dots. It says here at level 78, dealing damage with lightning increases the critical chance of your damaging dots by 3% for 10 seconds and snaps it 4 times. So 4 times 3%, that's 12%. So that looks like this. That's this one here, Fulminating Current. That does a little bit more, makes all of your dots do more. So this is a dot class as it in the truest sense. So let's look at your combat style some more here. So at level 23, you have 3 good options depending on what you're doing. For trash cleanup, maybe possibly sustain corruption, but you're kind of usually going to steer away from that unless you're heavily into PvP. So let's look at these two here. So number 1, right in the middle, you've got this thing called Death Brand. Death Brand is very effective because it does this thing called Assailable. It is one of the few classes in the games who apply Assailable. Assailable will make your dots do 7% more damage. So hopefully one of the other classes who do Assailable is in your group. So 2, or rather 4, of the sniping, gunslinging classes have those dot increasers, the Assailable buff. Marksmanship and Sharpshooter do not, but Dirty Fighting, Virulence, SWTOR, and Engineering. Hopefully those are in your group. They apply that automatically, and that covers you. That gets you covered. In addition, Assault Specialist and Innovative Ordnance both apply that. Gunnery does not, and neither does Arsenal. And Watchman Annihilation applies it as well. How do you know? If you got a sentinel or a marauder running around with 2 lightsabers in their hands and they're healing somebody, that is a little less common, but you'll find sometimes people using that. One of the best, most utility-based classes that's going to really help out the entire team. But if you don't have one, look for the Ruffian Lethality or a Scrapper Concealment. Those also apply it as well. So what's the easiest way to remember all that? If you have a gunslinger or a scoundrel or an operative or a sniper, chances are one of them are applying Assailable, okay? So in that case, just swap this over. This is what you're looking for. This is what you really want to pick as Unrelenting Affliction. So I do need you to read what it does. It does apply the Death Mark, which is good. That makes your dots, remember the dots do more. Overwhelmed is not that big a deal because what we're talking about is single target damage. This is a dot spreading class, but I'm not talking about the dot spreading. I'm talking about the single target. There are some classes, sometimes when you do combat, you're going to want to turn this on no matter what at the beginning of the fight, and that's what you're going to stick to. But for the entirety of this discussion, we're going to talk about only the single target and maximizing your single target. So in this case, there is a 50% chance where your Death Mark will not be consumed. That means you'll continue to do extra damage for those dots. All right, moving on. Let's see. Looking up here at 39, it's called Plaguemaster. I'm sorry, 27, Plaguemaster. And I lost some of the effect there. So Plaguemaster. The cooldown for shock is increased by 12, but it wipes out all of your dots all at once. So you have 3 dots. This is a dot, this is a dot, and demolish is a dot. When you apply those all on and then hit a shock, every single one of them are smacked off all at the same time. So you don't need to remember it. I'll just let you know. I'll put you in exact rotation where it needs to go. Just remember that that they wipe them all at the same time, and it is a massive damage increase because you can reapply your dots right away. They don't have to expire for their full amount of time. Okay, so you have your shock that interacts with your dots, you have your death field that interacts with your dots, you have your lightning that interacts with your dots. Let's talk about how to maximize that rotation usage. So first of all, your lightning needs to be split up. You can't have lightning back to back to back to back to back to back, as you'll see on a lot of guides, because you will lose the fulminating current eventually by the time you get back to it. So you need to split those up because it only lasts for a certain amount of time. You need that fulminating current to stay. It only stays for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, it's gone. Split them up. So I've got here in the rotation and here in the rotation. So we're going to do 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through equal sign, then 1, 2, 3 here, and start over. And then the opener goes through here. This is the opener. So before we start with the opener, let's look at the defenses real quick. The defensives. So you have your God Bubble, of course. And the reason I mentioned the God Bubble is because you can't take Cloud Mind. That is a threat drop, and it is a damage reduction. So because of that, you're going to need to use that static barrier. You're going to need to heal yourself a little bit more, and if you have to, use that God Bubble to get yourself back into the game, so that you don't die and you've maybe stolen aggro. So if you want, you can change that at level. I cannot remember. I think it's in here. Yeah, there you go. It'll decrease your static barrier down to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so you can use it more often. And in your tree, I think that's it on the tree. Just look and see what you like on your tree. I'm only going to address the ones that I talked about there. And just so that if you ask around with your unlimited power is a great boon for the entire team. And if you can't take this, it's not at the end of the world. It's not a terrible thing. These two are great. This is a damage reduction, so you need that damage reduction, but this also is a mobility enhancer, so you can use force speed a little more often, not for damage increase, but rather for mobility. And this is a straight up damage increase for the entire team. Just think about that. I'm choosing this one so that you can be more mobile. Let's talk about that mobility. So, unlike some of the other range classes, you're not a turret for the entire time. You're only a turret for when you're casting Force Lightning. And what's great about it is you do not have to continue to cast it once it's up. Because once you have Fulminating Current maxed out, all you have to do is tap it one time, and you've reset it. Boom, and you can start moving again. So it's not necessary. It is a damage loss, but it's not necessarily a prevention from mechanics, because you just have to tap it, and you can keep moving and keep doing mechanics as long as you keep that Fulminating Current up at all times. Also, you're gonna want to take the Force Mobility. That grants you to use Force Leech on mobile while you're mobile. That's very effective. That way, every single move you're doing has an ability to keep you mobile. So let's just go into the rotation real quick. Let me pull Star Parse up and make it big for you. All right, so we're going to break this open with an opener and this an applier. Okay, so when you're parsing, it's okay to use Death Field as opposed to your Death Brand, because this debuff already applies the assailable. You can't see it, but it is applied. So is vulnerable. This applies vulnerable. It's amazing. A little debuff there on them. So let us jump into the attack here, and this is the opener, and then I'll just go into here. The reason why the opener here is you want to apply vulnerable to the target as soon as possible, because everybody benefits from vulnerable. It is a dot, but it also applies vulnerable. This one applies it applies your death mark, which makes all of your future dots, as long as those dots are ticking, that every single dot, see a dot hit, every time a dot hit, it knocks down, goes down, it goes down, it goes down. So you want that on as soon as possible. And then right away, you're going to do a shock. So you've turned, using shock with Teachings of Rajavari, with Plaguemaster, you're going to turn a dot class into a burst class. So that is very effective. And let's get out of combat. I'm going to start over. Come on, there we go, out of combat. Alright, and I'm pretty much going to start the video here wherever we are in time. I have no idea where we are in time, but I will put a little fast forward thing at the bottom. Go. Wiping out the dots. So we're at 41k per second. Reapply the dots. Fulminating current. Wipe out the dots. I'm sorry, that's for mobility. I forgot to talk about the attack though. I'll talk about the tactile at the end. Still mobile. As you see, still mobile this entire time. Mobile. Doing the mechanics, doing the mechanics, doing the mechanics. Not mobile. But yeah, 29k. Wipe out those dots. Start over. We're at 30k now. Alright, we finished out at 29k. It's good enough to do just about any content, and you're still mobile. Your turret twice. Let's look at some of the things here. So keep in mind, if this was this is only a 2000 dummy, but if this was a 6k dummy, you'd still be in the 28k range, because this spike damage doesn't stop. It doesn't like drop for some reason. It's not stopping. So let's look at the gear real quick. So Tempest of Roe. It's important to understand what these things are doing and why you're doing in this order. So Tempest of Roe. Tempest of Roe causes your Force Lightning, that's your long cast, causes that to, sometimes, it ticks extra Creeping Terror. So you'll not want to use Force Lightning. If you want to change this rotation up however you want to do, you'll only use it when Creeping Terror is on the target. So there's Creeping Terror, and these make it tick extra. Ticks extra, ticks extra. The reason why I'm reapplying Creeping Terror and Affliction just before Demolish and then Shock is because I want these reapplied just before I rip them all down. Because they've been applied here, they're just about to fall off by the time we get to this point. And you can reapply them and then wipe them out and then reapply them again. And it seems like that's a damage loss because you're using a GCD, but it's not, because you're wiping them out and reapplying them. All damage that would have taken the 9 seconds or the 18 seconds or whatever it would have been, I'm sorry, it's 18 seconds and 18 seconds. What would have been, all is instant. Let's talk about the tacticals still some more. In addition, the Overload Strike and Lightning Strike. So this one here, Lightning Strike, is procced by this Force Lightning. See how it's nice and big and glowing? That means you can instantly smack it, and it will 100% of the time cause an extra Creeping Terror to hit. So that's why this is here in the rotation, and it keeps you mobile. Alternatively, you could put 2 Force Lightnings in a row here. If you really wanted to, it would be a slight DPS increase at a loss of mobility. You would have to sit there and cast 2 in a row, but this Lightning Strike, which is weaker, also is faster, because you see here, this is a 1.40 second. If you look at the activation time, it's actually just going to cost 1 GCD. Here, at this is a 1.87 seconds, so let's say 1.9. Let's just say 1.9 seconds. 1.9 second cast, it gets you back to Force Leech faster. So you're getting through the moves to get to Force Leech right when it is ready, and Death Field right when it's ready, even if the Death Mark has fallen off, or has not fallen off. You're going to apply anyway. Now, most people will tell you go Mastery and Power, and I would agree with that usually. However, I found that Critical, for some reason, Critical spikes it just a little bit, gets that little bit of oomph over the Power. So I have Mastery and Power, and I've done it for a little bit, and I'm not talking by much. Like, it does not do very much difference. So if you have the Mastery and Power, go with Mastery and Power. If you do Mastery and Crit, do Mastery and Crit. That's fine. Do either one of these one. Let me show you the implants here. The implants are Gathering Storm. Why do you use Gathering Storm? Force Speed makes your next direct force attack do 20% more damage. 20% more damage on your Force Leech. That is why the Force Speed is there. You're looking at the duration of Polarity Shift is increased by 5 seconds. That's a great thing. And Force Speed reduces the active cooldown of Polarity Shift by 5 seconds. So that is why it is Polarity Shift, then a Force Speed in the row, not Force Speed first. You'll almost be using Force Speed on cooldown. If you can't use it on cooldown, that's okay, because you want to use it in front of that Force Leech. It will also work in front of Death Field as well, and it will also work for Demolish because it has an initial hit. But you can use that for mobility because of what you chose in your tree on 43. If not, that's fine. It will be ready even if you don't choose that in your tree. This will be ready for that Force Leech in this particular rotation. Alright, let's see. Anything else? Let's see. You've got your Unbreakable Will. If you play the class, you know your Stun, your Interrupt. You might need to be Interrupt. I want you to do something for me, if you could. Two things in your settings. First of all, in your inner controls, in your controls, change your ability action queue. So I click all the time. In PvP, I don't click as much, but I still. So your action ability window, if you have this at 000, this means you have to wait for the ability to be absolutely ready before you click it. This actually kind of cues it. It's like the next ability. Now, too bad you couldn't put 5 in a row. Like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. It doesn't work that way. You have to do it halfway in between, or just before. So if I did this move, there's still a global cooldown. You see the sliding bar. As I use, there's a sliding bar. Well, what happens is during that sliding bar, I can go ahead and click the next one, and it's ready. I can go ahead and click the next one, it's ready. I can go ahead and click the next one, it's ready. Before the next one's ready. You have to be careful with force lightning because it's a casted one. You can't do it a little bit too early. You want to wait till that lightning starts to roll. But most abilities, boom, I can do it early. See, and then I've done 2 moves. This one I have to stay put, use it. This one I can click it early. I'm clicking it early, clicking it early, and they're ready right when the ability is ready. And you can see that Affliction, Creeping Terror, and Vulnerable are all on the target from these 3 moves, even though I clicked it just a little bit early. So again, that's in your preferences, then on your controls, and change that ability queue to 1 second instead of, you click things a little bit early, and it's going to be just fine. All right, and the other thing I want you to do, if you can, you don't have to. That's optional. This is optional. It's all optional. Go to your cast bar, find your target's cast bar, and stick it above your interrupt. That way, whenever somebody's about to interrupt, you can see that interrupt, and boom, you click it. Or keybind it. That would even be better if you keybind it. But if you don't keybind, that's fine. I don't even. I've been learning to keybind for years now, and I'm still kind of getting used to the keybinding situation. But until then, I will continue to show how to not keybind and still do massive damage. Okay, so I think that's just about it. And as you can see, there's so much healing, so much healing. This heals you, 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 this heals you. I mean, just healing. Everything you do is just healing, lots and lots of healing. Great survivability. Love this class. And this heals you too. You use that bad boy and then follow up with a static barrier that heals you. So, anyway, that's all I got for you. Have fun out there.